So hey there, thanks for checking out my videos here on YouTube. I do greatly appreciate it. It's one of those things where I do value viewership. It's pretty nice to look down at the numbers and see over 20 people. Thumbs up as far as that's concerned. I appreciate subscriptions. It's always nice. If you're in there, you can kind of go click, click, click. I think I'm at 400 and change, which I know in the world of the internets, you kind of go, wow, super winner. But that's actually really impressive considering that my topics are related usually to Turo, vehicle rentals, small entrepreneurial endeavors, just kind of my random thoughts. Like really the things that I put up here are very narrow as far as what people are looking for. So if you subscribe, that is great. And I'm really impressed by the 400 that are there anyways. So, you know, it is what it is. But with that said, today was like a Sunday family function of, well, family function. What are you going to do, right? So, shirt and tie, look half decent, kind of that kind of thing, right? So, got chit-chatting with like an old associate, not a friend, just someone you kind of bump into, kind of these things that you do, right? And we got talking briefly, like just a small little brief conversation about where we started, like how things began. And it kind of throws you back a little bit to a little bit of memory. So back in the day, when I got out of, actually before I got out of high school, I started selling cars. Like that's what I did. It was kind of not really a defining moment in my personality, but it was kind of the encompassing part of what kind of made me tick a little bit. Like I enjoyed it. So I worked for Hyundai, like right out of the gate. I worked for Acura. I think I've worked for every brand. Like, that's pretty impressive from that standpoint. Either I have really bad job security or I'm really old. One of the others, right? So anyways, so we got nattering about how hard it was to get into the car business back in the day. Like the hurdles you had to go through. And I'm thinking to myself, there really wasn't that many hurdles. Like when I started, I moved out west. No, Hamilton, Ontario. So Hamilton, Ontario, I started selling cars at Acura on Main in high school. And I'll be honest with you, I lied on the resume. I said I was 32. Now, clearly, I wasn't 32, and it was just kind of a funny little thing to kind of get my foot in the door. But the manager thought it was hilarious. And he just said, okay, go for it. And I'd come from selling shoes and selling things in the mall. And I just wanted to move into something with a little more prestige to it. Lo and behold. Plus access to cars. And at the age I was at, I just finally got my driver's license. So it was kind of nice to have access to cars. And I know it sounds ridiculous, that was the big hot point, but at the time the NSX was out, the Acura Legend was out, so I had an opportunity at a very young age to get behind some of these cars and actually go for a good little run. And by good little run, I was never really abusive to the cars. Like wasn't it. Just be able to take them out for a spin. And I was always very cautious. Like it was one of those things where I was almost paranoid about it. So I would take the cars out and I'd go visit my friend, or we'd go touring a little bit, and it was Hamilton, right? Fun. It was just nothing dangerous or anything like that, but just what we would do. And to get the sales license at the time, there were no tests. Like, there really wasn't. It was more of, you had to sign up for OMVIC at the time. I remember that. They had just started out, just unfolded, and it was like $5 or something. It was like a ridiculously low amount of money to get in. It wasn't even a hurdle, and they made you just basically say, don't lie to people. Try and refrain from that. And don't sell over MSRP. Like that was essentially it with OMVIC. There was really no, that was it, right? And I remember this. I remember selling my very first car was a full-size Jimmy. I don't know why the guy bought it off me. I think he just really wanted it. It was one of those things where I just didn't get in his way. You know, showed him the car, told him how much it was, and it was an easy transaction. Like I remember that. It was a nice sale. Then he came back down and bought a car for his wife. And years later, I kind of bumped into him inadvertently, and I just said, why don't you buy a car off me? Like I was a terrible salesperson. I didn't show you features or functions. I walked out with the key and said, there it is. And it's Brown. It's a truck. I don't know anything about it because at the time I was big into import stuff. I really didn't know anything about domestic cars or trucks at all. They didn't fascinate me in any way, shape, or form. But if you asked about an NSX or you were talking about a Acura Legend or a Honda Civic, I was pretty much, that guy, right? So, yeah, and he basically said, you didn't get in the way. You weren't annoying. And I said, oh, yeah, you handed me the keys, told me what the price was, asked if I could actually pay for it today. And he said, yes, I could. Yes, blah, blah, blah. I said, that's why I came back, because you weren't a pain in the butt. I thought, well, that's an interesting sales approach. But there was no real training involved. Whereas today, you've got to go through an interview process at the dealership. Right? So if you're trying to get in there, you have to find a dealership that's prepared to basically put you underneath their wing and register you with OMVIC and get you kind of going on the OMVIC testing. And the testing is going to take probably about 90 days to get ready. And there's a college prep course available for it if you want to take a college prep course. A college prep course. So anyways, the hurdles now, just to get something that I would probably suggest that you would go through, like we did back in the day, you'd go get a sales job. And you normally start in low-end retail. So you normally go into a shoe store. You learn how to sell shoes. For me, I learned how to sell women's shoes. Worked in a women's shoe store for a bit during high school. It was actually a really good experience. Very good sales training as far as that's concerned. If you want to learn how to sell anything, go sell women's accessories, shoes, and clothing. It's an eye-opener from that standpoint. Do that. And then you'd normally go into something like household appliances, electronics, home entertainment. And then you'd move into other categories. You'd go into maybe car sales or real estate or financial services. You'd build up slowly based on your recommendations through your resume. That was just the nature of it. Now, for whatever reason, every industry wants a government stamp. They want you to have a course or a college prep, or they want you to go through the OMVIC training. Now, I do get that as far as that's concerned, because there's some legalities and some finer interest stuff in automotive that you really should know. But at the same time, it's one of those things that, what happened? To just, the process has just become a process unto itself, a job or a career for somebody else. That just seems to be frustrating from my standpoint. So if you wanted to go out there and boom, go into the car business, you have to find a dealership that's willing to train you. A dealership that isn't going to be, how would I put this, taking advantage of you for the first 30 days, getting you to wash cars and run things around, or the 90 days and put you on hold. And then you're going to go in and you're going to do the test, right? So you have to find a place that will actually train you. And I would probably suggest that if you're really interested in the automotive field and you really wanted to get into selling cars, look at the outside industries. Go and become a service writer for a little while. You don't need a license for that. Go and find a nice job and maybe sell appliances for a little bit. The basic underlying customer service is very similar. Get experience with that a little bit. And then you'll walk onto the floor and you go, okay, so how do I find the solution to these problems? How do I market and sell myself? How do I dress? How do I keep my desk? It sounds ridiculous, but these are little things that you need to learn, right? And then you take your OMVIC course. And the OMVIC course you can do online and through Sheridan College, apparently. I'm surprised it's not a 3-year program. I don't know how you could possibly stretch that off to 3 years, but anyways, if you're looking to kill 3 years, I guess. But you could go to Sheridan College if you want to and do it from that standpoint. I'm of the opinion that you should get out there, find a dealership in a smaller market, or find yourself an entry-level dealer or an off-brand, kind of an orphan brand, if you would. So that would be get into a little Kia store. And I'm not painting Kia as being a small shop. It's just they're a stepping stone into another franchise. Get yourself into a Mitsubishi dealership. Again, stepping brand into something else. If you get into a large franchise like a GM store or a Ford dealership, the problem is that they've got so many departments and they're so hedged on what they want you to do, you'll never get that chance to go out of that. Whereas if you go to a smaller dealership or a smaller brand, they're going to want you to wear many hats, which means you're going to get a lot of experience. It means you're going to get the understanding what the finance manager has to go through, because probably on Thursday nights, you're going to be watching the finance office. So I'm going to train you a little bit, right? If you go into a small franchise store like a Mitsubishi store, you're also going to get some service desk experience, because at some point on a Wednesday or on a Monday, the service advisor is going to call in sick, and the other service advisor will be on holidays. So good news, sales guy, you've been graduated. You're at the service desk. Those are the small places where you can learn each individual department enough where you can say to yourself, I have the concept and understanding of how that works. So you can move into management down the road if you want to, or become a better salesperson, or acknowledge the fact that at some point your car that you sold will need to be serviced. And if you're a really good salesperson, you're going to want to help that client out with service issues, which usually is pretty easy if you have the general understanding of what goes on in that back room and what the mechanics deal with and just how things flow. So if you have that concept down and kind of go, oh, well, I work in a place where I've got a client that I really like, that car's got to go to Lenny in the back, because Lenny's the best mechanic, or Lenny's the guy with like 10 years experience working on that particular model and make and that particular problem. Take it right to that guy every single time. And you have to treat that mechanic well. And I know that's hard to explain on the floor, but it means you've got to bring in donuts and coffee every once in a while. You've got to be nice. It means that every once in a while you've got to be able to throw a set of keys to a guy and say, you know what? Take it for the weekend if you're management. Enjoy. Oh, you need a hand with something. Would a truck help? Would you like to take the service truck? You want to treat these guys really well, because in the trades, they take a lot of grief. And if you're the guy up front that's helpful, friendly, brings you a cup of coffee and a donut occasionally, throws you a set of keys to the service truck if you need to move something kind of odd or arbitrary, and you give them a little flexibility on shop access, that's what you want, right? So where was I talking about? I was talking about getting the job. That's the problem where we're at today. You can't just kind of build yourself into the business anymore. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to start at this point and work my way out and become this. That's very unfortunate. It's a different world. So anyways, if you're out there trying to get started in the car business, or you are in the car business, and you're doing your OMVIC course and you've got some questions about it, I'm going to start doing little 15-minute or 20-minute little explanations on what's in the course, what's online. Because a lot of times you'll read and you kind of go over your head. You're going to go, what are they talking about? Because you haven't been in the business. You don't know what it is, right? You don't know the terminology or the slang words or the acronyms. Because why? Because you didn't get a chance to work your way into it. You didn't get the introduction by an experienced guy. You're just going to go, okay, I'm going to take the course and we'll see what happens, right? So I'm going to try doing that. Hopefully that'll help you out a little bit. And mainly, perhaps, you'll send a message and say, hey, Keith, good news. I'm working at the local yada 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 dealership. It's horrible. Thanks, buddy. But I'm earning my stripes, I'm getting my wings, and someday I'll work at the franchise of my choice. Someday I'll be at the car dealership I deserve. But for right now, you're getting your foot in the door, and you're trying to get things rolling, and you're trying to get into the system. And if you think there's huge barriers to it, there isn't. It's just a willingness to do it, or the fascination to do it, right? So if you're in the Canadian market and you're going to yourself, geez, I can't hack it. Because there's always that thing that people are always going to say, oh, they're going to go, my language barrier isn't great. You know, this is what I find ridiculous. So when I work at nights at my regular job, and I'm walking along the production facility, and I'm talking to the folks that are there. It's like, oh, you're from India. That's great. Oh, you only speak 4 languages. English is a little dodgy. It's like, oh my God. You speak 4 languages. Like, right out of the gate, if you want to go into sales, you speak 4 languages. You have access to 4 different markets that I wouldn't have access to. And the markets are really limited, where you're almost like a niche. So if you said to yourself, good news, I've got myself at the Honda store, and I'm the only one there that speaks Ukrainian. Okay, market that. Because every Ukrainian from like 1,000 kilometers will come, regardless, because they're going to go, well, no, ease of communication. Nice. I can actually speak my mother tongue and be quite comfortable with it. Same thing with folks from India. I kind of go, okay, well, that's amazing. And then they always have like second, third languages, because that's just the nature of like being in the UK or anywhere in the world. Canada, we're kind of French or English. Maybe you get the odd occasional person that kind of expanded that a little bit from exposure from family. But traditionally, if you walk out, you're going, wow. Don't let that hold you back. And then there's other issues where you kind of go, oh, well, I don't have the automotive background, or I don't have the experience in sales. Agreed. You can learn that. You can pick that up. By doing what? Go get a job in a shoe store. Go get a job at a grocery store. Go get a job where there's some sales involved. Go sell furniture. Do that for a year. You'll get enough sales experience there to be able to approach a customer, ask some valid questions, get some basic training, learn how to wear a proper pair of pants, stuff like that. Sounds stupid, but little things. And then you can move into the field of your choice. But if you're trying to get an automotive, for God's sakes, please don't let your limitations set you back, because they're not limitations. They're probably advantages. Women in the car business, which used to be a big harp back in the day. I hate to tell you this, most high-performing car salespeople are women. Yeah, go check out the board sometime if you're ever wandering through a big franchise store. You're going to go, oh, wow. It's usually the top 3, like all the time. Why? Because strangely enough, women are really good at customer service. Don't know why. Just seems to be. And they usually come in from a background of like jewelry or finance, and they usually got the car business bug, because usually, it sounds crazy, they know the pay structure. They know that if you're in the car business, it can actually make some money. And if you do it well, and you're organized, and you're polite, and you're clean and tidy, and you keep your business straight and legitimate, and you're doing your thing, and you have no headaches, you could make a pretty decent living at it, especially in the finance office. When you ever go into the finance office, what are you going to find? Traditionally, it's women. Traditionally. That's how it works. Why? Because they're usually fully aware that it's the same skill set that's on the floor that's in the finance office. In the finance office, you get all the business. You don't have to split things. It's all the business. So that's actually the best job in the automotive realm. So again, if you think you have limitations, you're going to yourself, I can't get in there because of this. You're probably wrong. You're holding yourself back. So again, if you think you've got problems or you've got little quirks, tell me. Maybe we'll do a little live session on that. We'll go, oh, well, here's the underlying issue. How do we resolve that? How is that an advantage? So hopefully you're listening to this. This is a 20-minute rant on like a live session, so I do apologize. It's just me in the car doing my little thing because it's 5:30 in the afternoon and I'm just killing traffic. So have a pleasant and enjoyable day. And again, if you find these topics somewhat interesting, thumbs up. If you're renting cars on Turo and you're a host, love feedback. If you're out there in the car business and you're saying to yourself, wow, if you're an old guy, I'd like to hear your opinion on how you got into the business. You usually just fell into it, or you inherited it, like your dad did it or something along that line. It's always nice to hear. But again, always nice to get comments and subscriptions. Again, thumbs up. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant and enjoyable day.